Hello, prospective fantasy NBA players. Thought I would give another update here. We've had some changes with the Dynasty League, and I've actually entered some other leagues with a friend of mine. One with a friend of mine, some others just on my own. And the fantasy NBA game is wilder and wackier, especially preseason, than any football league I've ever been in. We've been doing various. I've been doing various formats. The one I got my friend in was probably the craziest. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. But I thought I would just update on the Midnight Society. So this is the fifth year of this league, and this is my third full season going through after picking up an orphan team. And again, when I picked up this team, it had empty spots on the bench. It had nobody in the taxi squad. And it was in pretty bad shape. So I have gone through some waiver processes. I've made a couple of interesting moves, I think, that I thought I would just talk about real quick. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. The one thing I would point out is when we do these leagues in the NBA, most of them are set up such that whenever you do your lineup, you get to see how that player did in that game before you decide if you want their points for that week. So you only get points for one game. So if they're playing 2 or 3 games, you have to decide which game's points you want to use. But you do get to wait until after the game to decide that. So that's the way most leagues work. This one, this Midnight Society League, is the only league I'm in where that is not the case. You have to decide before the game if you're starting that player, and then once you start that player for that game, you're pretty much stuck with what you get, except for in the case of injury. If your player never enters the game, then after the reset that night, it will open back up, and you'll have a chance to put somebody else in there. But if they come in and twist their ankle and score 0, or God forbid they have a couple turnovers and then twist their ankle, and get you a negative, then you're stuck with it. And that's the way that goes. So I thought I'd just go through the roster real quick. This one hopefully is not going to be quite as long of a video here. I've got Derek White in my starting lineup at point guard. I love this guy. I have in one of my other leagues I was able to pick the roster of the team I wanted. It's a 30-team league in that one. And I picked the Celtics, and White is one of the reasons I picked them. And I've had several people trying to trade to get him, and I've just been saying no. So I'm pretty happy with White. One of the other things I would point out here too is on these own percentages and these start percentages. I used to have to start on a regular basis players that were owned by like 10% of rosters and started by like 1%. Now I think we got a pretty solid chance to do better this year. By the way, this league also each week plays against the league average. So you play your matchup against whoever you're playing against, and you also play against the league average. My goal this year is to have a winning record against the league average. And if I can do that, then I really feel like if we're not making a playoff push, we're at least that much more improved. So notice the percentages here, though, of these players. These are some rostered players that are started by a majority of the league, and finally they're on my roster. So Derek White I traded for. I'm happy to have him, and I'm just going to go over here to history real quick. This was a big trade. I got him, Sexton Suggs, and a third round pick. By the way, third round picks in this league, not worthless, but you're really dart throwing by the time you get to third round in this league. Notice the number of picks that I had accumulated and that I gave up for these guys. So first, second, second. Second rounds are not worthless, but they're, depends on if they're early or late as to where they kind of fall. If you get 1 or 2 good players out of the second round in the league, you're probably doing okay. So yeah, just notice that I made a pretty solid trade just to get Derek White and a couple other players. Suggs is also another player I'll talk about. I got Podziemski. He was involved in the Steph Curry trade. When I traded Curry, I wanted Podziemski back. age for youth kind of an exchange there. And I think this might be finally the season that Podzinski gets to claim his spot. I'm really hoping so. Carrington, I drafted. So I'm really excited to have him in a guard spot. And notice he's in just a flex guard, if you will. He's not my starting point guard or my starting shooting guard. He's just a guard. And I feel like that's a positive sign for the future, that's for sure. And then there's Suggs, who I also got in the White trade. So I got 2 starters out of that trade. And if you're talking about trading picks for actual players, in this league, actual players are almost always better because the picks can go great or they can suck. It just kind of depends. I made a move this year for Paul George. This one's going to be a pretty make or break kind of thing, but I can tell you small forward was the weakest position I had, and I decided to go ahead and make a move for George. I think this offer, by the way, was sent to me. I don't think I sent it out, but I'm not a huge fan of Paul George, especially with his injury history and that sort of thing, but he was a lot better than what I had. And I'm a little tired of, finishing third from the bottom, finishing fifth from the bottom, stuff like that. I would rather compete a little bit. So I sent a second round pick this year during the draft. That's right, I'd forgotten about this. And maybe even mentioned it last time we were together. This was sent to me just for this second round pick, George Bogdanovic, and a third round pick. I smash accepted because I said I'll take it. And this guy, I think it was McNeely, was the guy that ended up getting taken with this pick here. So we'll see how McNeely does over the course of his career. But for a second round pick, I felt like that was a pretty good deal for sure. He is 35 years old, Paul George, so I'm not going to get much out of him. And maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't have gotten much out of that second round pick. Who knows? Aaron Gordon, I have had him on the trade block, I think, for 3 years. And I finally just took him off the trade block and said, all right, he's my starting power forward. And he always has been, but he is the grizzled warrior of this roster. He and Russell Westbrook. We're going to hope that Aaron Gordon holds it together. There is talk this year in Denver that they are the favorite to win the championship over Oklahoma City. They do feel if they get a 7-game series with Oklahoma City, they are going to beat them. I find that to be interesting because I don't know that I agree, but we'll see. Here's Kuminga. Again, that was a trade back in the day involving some picks, and I decided, I wanted to go ahead and get the player and unload the picks. So I've got Kuminga at forward, and I got Sexton at forward, and again, that's a trade acquisition. So I've got my forward situations better. The position that I have focused on the most has been center, and you see that in my flexes, and you can see that in my center position. And I'll just tell you now, again, Lively, we talked extensively last time about him. I understand that Davis is the center in Dallas. I also understand the guy can't stay healthy. So Lively has been one of my targets. I also made a trade I've been targeting this guy for a couple of years. I've talked to this guy, this owner, about getting him. I finally got him. I gave up a 2026 first round pick for several picks. And Poeltl. He's just consistent. He just does the job, and that's what I want. I want someone who does the job. So notice he's... these are all 90-something, 89% guys here. The only one I have kind of that's a little bit iffy is Isaiah Jackson, and I think he is the starter in Indiana. He's a young guy. I, again, made a trade to get him, and I just really feel like, if these guys pop, if Clegane in his second year just turns into a stud, if Jackson pops a little bit for me, if Davis gets hurt, George stays healthy. If Carrington pops like I think he will, Podzinski, I think this is a pretty solid lineup. And again, I'm only looking at trying to get 500. If I finish over 500 this year, I think that is a gigantic success. That's for sure. I would point out, I'm not going to go through all these bench guys, but there's a couple of guys here. Queta, who may end up being the starting center for for Boston. I actually don't even have him in my lineup, and he's projected to do pretty well. Same with Garza. I don't know if they've decided between these guys here, but I'm really kind of interested in how that shakes out. Notice I have Jackson's backup here in Huff. One of those guys is going to get some minutes. Whether or not they're actually scoring points, I don't know, but they're going to get some minutes. I also have Cornette and Olenek. If Wembanyama misses time, those guys are going to get some time, and I'm not convinced that Wembanyama is going to stay healthy. Here's Westbrook on my IR, and I just want to show you all something, I guess, here. I have this little spreadsheet that I've kept on this team. I have several teams that I keep spreadsheets on, and it just kind of helps me with my mental processes here. Russell Westbrook has the most starts on this team, and that includes last year with Denver. And he wasn't that great, but I a lot of times didn't have a choice. I had to just put him in. Notice Aaron Gordon is second. I do color code these things, by the way. Yellow means trade target. If I can trade him away for something, I will. Gordon now is green. He's been yellow for like 3 years, and now he's green. I'm keeping him. Notice, by the way, here's a little interesting one. Duncan Robinson, who, by the way, will start for Jaden Ivey if Ivey can't play. He has a lot of starts on my team, and that's before he even went to Detroit. He was a Miami Heat player. But look at these guys that have been leading the way in my starting lineup, and there's very few of them that are in my starting lineup now, which again I think means we've turned a corner. We've improved our roster, that's for sure. So anyway, I thought I would just kind of point that out. Me and a friend of mine got into a league where basically everybody, it's a 32-team league, this one. Everybody picks a roster. I was a half second late in picking Oklahoma City. I really wanted them. So I ended up with the Detroit Pistons, which gives me a little more options as far as trading and that sort of thing. But you pick the whole roster for that team, minus a player that the expansion teams get. There's 30 NBA teams and there's 32 teams in this Dynasty League. And then once everyone has their roster, the trading is a frenzy. And it has been amazing. And I've stayed out of the fray. Some of y'all that know me in football know that I love to make some trades, but I've stayed out of it because I really feel like in a 30-some team league, what you need to do is have your starting lineup and your bench be synergetic. If someone gets hurt, you got to have the backup. You got to have the handcuffs. And I don't know that other people are looking at it that way. So if there comes a point, I'll put a video together on that. I'll show you all how it's going. I did a couple of those leagues. I got the Celtics and I got the Pistons. The Celtics one, again, I'm holding on to my core Celtics. Despite the fact that people have been trying to get them from me, I'm just not. I do have some offers out for some Pistons that I might consider. Ivy, I think, is a viable trade target. He's hurt a lot. And I've got Duran, who people kind of covet. And he might be a one piece that can get me a couple or three pieces. So we're going to look at some of that. I did do just a flat redraft NBA league this year. I'll let you know how that goes. And then I took over another orphan team. And I made some pretty bold moves on that one that the other league members, they didn't like it. They had a lot of comments to make about it, but I didn't care. So if we ever get a chance to get into that one, we will. So I'm in a lot of NBA stuff this year. We'll see how it goes. Again, also in a hockey league, and my first week did not go well. So if we talk a little bit about some other sports, we'll kind of look at some of my processes on that. I can tell you a spreadsheet saves a lot of irritation. That's for sure. It kind of helps you out with when it's time to maybe cut a player or time to trade a player or whatever. It helps you as far as knowing how that player, if they've been sitting on your bench for 22 weeks, then it's time to move on. And this goes over multiple seasons. This would be my quitting time league right here. My Bijan Robinson is my starting warrior in that one. So anyway, we can talk about spreadsheets on a future episode as well. I'm going to let you guys go, but just know, again, I'm always looking forward to hanging out sometime and just always happy to be a part of whatever league we can do, man. It's fun. That's for sure. And by the way, the majority of these are free. I'm not paying anything for NBA League. I'm not paying anything for Hockey League. I pay a little bit for some football, and I do pay for some baseball. But it's all about just trying to have fun, right? You guys stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.